Welcome back to the superb Allianz Field here in St. Paul in the Twin Cities. Sold out tonight, and as Julie Fowley was saying earlier on, I think they could have sold the tickets twice over. It holds 20,000. They sell out every week, and they've got a waiting list for tickets of 5,000, I'm told by the events manager around here. So things looking good for Minnesota United at the moment. Carly Lloyd, 37, still hungry, still wants goals, still wants to be playing for the USA. There are 4 changes for the US at the start of the second half. Kristen Press is on, Casey Short as well, Lindsay Horan and Tiana Davidson. Off come Dunn, Sarabrun, Solid and Heath. And one change for Portugal, Matilde Fidalgo replacing the previously booked Anna Borges, who was put out of her misery that she was suffering at the hands of Tobin Heath in that first half. Do you think these players are tired? We keep hearing that from Jill Ellis and the team. It's a kind of emotional tiredness.
Exactly.
So much
it's not just a physical, it's a mental, emotional. Yeah, because you come off this high of that win and all that's gone into that win and winning a World Cup, and you go on the victory tour and you do the media, and you're just at a level, and you're sustaining that level for weeks and weeks, and you have to come down at some point, and they haven't been allowed to do that.
Tiana Davidson very shortly will be celebrating her 21st birthday. Like Abby Dahlkemper on the ball here from Menlo Park in the Bay Area of California. Must be something in the water there. 2 US squad players from that relatively small place. Lindsay Horan playing the ball out wide. Feels like the US have had about 80% of the possession here. I'm sure the figure officially is a bit. It's actually 63. It feels so much more than that.
It does.
I knew somebody would have the answer straight away. Now can Portugal do anything at all? They're trying to get Diana Silva, who is quite dangerous given a chance, into action. Carolina Mendes here with the run, trying to fight Diana Silva, who will get there first. Over the years, they're trailing the USA by 37 goals to nil over 25 years of matches. Kristen Press, whose next goal will be her 50th for the US. Scored a big one in the semi-final, didn't she, of the World Cup, that header against England.
Yeah, came in for Megan Rapinoe, who was out injured. Huge game.
Julie Ertz has gone back into her old position of central defence. Because of those fatigue issues, Jill Ellis has just had to make sure that she looks after the players a little. Some of them were only fit really to play properly for about an hour, maybe less than that. Casey Short, who will be glad to be back in the US shirt. Big disappointment for her, and you do feel for any player left out of the World Cup squad. It's a heartbreaker. She's out there, and that's a lovely ball through. And Kristen Press had a chance there to score with what would have been only about her second touch since coming on. Fidalgo just about won the ball for Portugal, who I'm sure the coach would have said, let's just try to keep it a little bit better in this half, give ourselves a bit more respite. They do put 4 passes together there. But there was a big opportunity for Kristen Press.
And this is the nice little slip ball in by Carly Lloyd. She's looking actually to the far post, gets that defense to shift, and then just slides it in. What a nice ball.
What a great pass that is from Carly Lloyd. Of course, she was always a midfield player in her past and has been used really as a, well, central striker more latterly.
Pereira has had a nice game for Portugal, actually. If not for some of her saves, we would be at 4-5.
The shots count so far is USA 15, Portugal 1. And just to underline the kind of problems Portugal have had with funding and interest in the game in the country, it is picking up now. For 12 years, the team disappeared altogether. They didn't have a team. So it's a completely different setup, and they're trying to recover from all that. And this season, they've been given their biggest ever budget, the women's team in Portugal, by the federation. I think a lot of the federations are looking around the world game and saying, we need to get in on this. It's good.
And that's the beauty of this past World Cup, especially because when you see the numbers in some of these countries in terms of the numbers watching, finally you hope, gosh, you don't know what it's going to take, but gosh, that light bulb will go off and they'll say, okay, it's time. Because it's been way too slow and too long. Don't even get me started on that rant, Ian.
Oh, it's a fantastic effort from, first of all, Press, and then McDonald hits the bar again. She can't believe that, Jessica McDonald. That's twice she's hit the crossbar at both ends.
The pace in which Press hits this ball, too. I mean, she got all of that bad one. It's just right at Pereira. Unlucky for Press, and McDonald again. Just cannot buy one.
Drive you to distraction, that would. Can't get out, back in by Casey Short. Hidalgo wanted a bit too much time. The bounce wasn't kind to her. That's his dispossessed. Tatiana Pinto measuring the ball. Free kick is going to be given for Short's challenge. On Thursday, we've got a Euro qualifier double-header for you on ESPN News and the ESPN app. Armenia against Roberto Mancini's Italy team in a Group J matchup at 11:50 a.m. Eastern. Then at 2:30, Ireland against Switzerland in Group D from Dublin. In front of what will be a very atmospheric crowd, I can tell you, for that one. USA, 4 times World Cup winners, 4 times Olympic champions, leading by 2-0 here. Now, Jill Ellis had a big job retaining the World Cup. No coach in history, men or women, has retained the World Cup since Vittorio Pozzo for Italy in 1934 and 1938. Jill will be in the history books. She doesn't know what she's going to do next, does she?
I know. I'm like, come on, really? She's like, really? I don't.
She might get an offer or two, won't she?
Oh, yeah. She can be good in so many different areas. She will choose her next path.
The one thing she couldn't do was win the Olympic Championship in 2016. USA beaten, I think it was on penalties, wasn't it, by Sweden. Like Jill Ellis will be equaling Tony DeGico's record of 105 wins tonight. We thought that would happen. Mallory Pugh's going to come on in a moment, by the way, to join the party. Lloyd again. Andrea Norton looking to feed it forward, but again they just can't hold the ball for more than 2 or 3 passes. Oh, and that hits the luckless Jessica McDonald on the back of her calves this time. You have to go home and explain to a 7-year-old son about why mummy didn't quite get on the score sheet.
Still a lot of time.
I think it's fantastic. Playing in her first World Cup at the age of 31. As did Ali Long, one of those unavailable tonight, I think. Bit of a knock at the moment. Here's Sam Mewis. 2 goals in that rout of Thailand. Tenacious play. Mewis looking to measure one in behind, and well played by Matilde Fidalgo, the number 5, who by the way is a cousin of the Manchester City star Bernardo Silva. And where does she play her football? For the Manchester City women's team. I can tell you Bernardo is one of the nicest men in football. He even buys cakes for the staff on their birthdays at Manchester City. They love him.
You win the hearts over with cakes, easy.
Yeah, he can play though, can't he? He really can play. Mewis couldn't grow tall enough to head that in.
Portugal, I will say, has been better on their set pieces tonight versus what we saw on Thursday night in Philadelphia.
Off comes Sam Mewis to be replaced by 21-year-old Mallory Pugh, who plays for Washington Spirit. Pugh, who didn't appear beyond the group stage at the World Cup, but does have 5 goals for the national team in 2019. One of them came in the team's only defeat of the calendar year against France. What a weird thing. In 2015, the USA started the year losing to France, won the World Cup. 2019, started the year losing to France, won the World Cup.
We actually said that when they lost. They're like, well, it worked out well in 15. And with that Pugh substitution, she goes in up top on the right side. Carly Lloyd popping back into the midfield.
Fidalgo. I'll tell you what, if Portugal score, there are not too many signs of it, but if they do, they will go absolutely potty. They're very, very aware of the fact they've never got a goal against the USA.
Potty.
Yes, crazy.
Okay. Just wondering what that meant.
Lindsay Horan, lovely little touch, that one. Bouncing around in there, but not for MacDonald again.
Potty.
I'll explain it later. It's all right.
I'm married to a Brit, and I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
Potty. Thank you for that.
Two nations separated by a common language.
You know, one of the things you mentioned earlier in this game was the number of players in their 30s going forward, and obviously that there's going to be a change in some part, whether it's large or small, for the next World Cup. But I think the bigger question is, how much do you change for the Olympics, being that they're less than a year away? Do you stay on this gravy train that you have, or do you bring in a little bit of fresh blood? It's going to be a huge question mark for that next coach.
It's Casey Short. They want something with Mallory Pugh down that side. It's interesting you mentioned new names. One of the new names knocking on the door is Kristen Hamilton from the North Carolina Courage, the third top goal scorer in NWSL, and she's been given a chance in this squad. Whether we see her tonight will be interesting. I think Jellitus will try to get her on at some point. I've lost count. How many subs has she already used? 5. So there's only one more chance left to do that. Here come 3 for Portugal.
Kristen Hamilton has been phenomenal with North Carolina, especially in the summer months when they were missing so many World Cup players.
3 of Portugal's best players a bit mysteriously left out tonight, just rested, maybe feeling the effects of the game the other night, and now coming on to play. Claudia Neto, probably the best player in the squad, the number 10. Jessica Silva, she's on as well, and Dolores Silva will be wearing number 14 and plays in midfield, left side of midfield. So Portugal have used all their substitutes now, and they ought to be stronger with those players out on the pitch now. Why the coach made those changes, not quite sure. Carly Lloyd. Morgan Bryant. Lindsay Horan, it hits the bar again. The US, and I think the goalkeeper got something on that. She's not the biggest, that goalkeeper, Ines Pereira, but I think she just may have got a touch on that. This will tell us.
Horan shaping up with a lot of time. Hard to tell from there, but with the US taking.
I think it flicked her fingers.
Yep.
If it didn't, she'll tell you afterwards she definitely saved it. Goalkeepers Union. And she's performed a few heroics. She must have known this was going to be a busy night, and it is.
That group that came in for Portugal, I mean, you talked about Jessica Silva, plays for Olympique Lyon. Claudia Neto plays for Wolfsburg in Germany. I mean, this is the group that is part of their international contingent. Dolores Silva, Atletico Madrid. And that's the progression this Portuguese team is making. You now have 8 players playing abroad. Still only 4,000 registered players in the entire country. You have that, I think, in Orange County, where I live, alone.
Yeah. That just shows you, doesn't it?
Right.
4,000.
I mean, it's so hard to compete when we've got millions of girls playing.
Yep, that's what they're up against.
4,000, they said, and registered girls and young women.
So they are encouraged by the kind of figures they're getting, the television audience, that people are starting to take some interest in the team. Of course, the men's team are the reigning European champions. They won the Nations League as well, and would be among the favourites to retain the European Championship next summer.
And there has to be an element where they see their neighbor in Spain doing so well on the women's side, and the quick progress that they've made, that has to be a catalyst, you would think, for them as well.
They were going to have a party whatever happened tonight, I think. Got a feeling it might carry on after the match as well. You're in the splendid area of Minneapolis and St. Paul. You notice one of my favorite bands, Squeeze, are playing downtown tonight, but I'm otherwise engaged.
I was a little worried you weren't going to show up tonight. Get him out of the theater.
Lindsay Horan of Portland. Misplaced ball that time. It's picked up by Jessica Silva. Don't forget to try ESPN Plus offering MLS, ESPN FC with a lot of hot football debate every day, Serie A and more. Start your free 7-day trial of ESPN Plus now. Ertz. Lloyd with the little flick on, now playing back in her old position in midfield, Carly Lloyd, this second half. Now Tiana Davidson, Lindsay Horan, bit of a misunderstanding between her and Mallory Pugh there. Both left it to each other. There's another chance coming up though. Pugh lays it inside. Horan, beautifully done the first bit, the second not quite so much.
You do get the sense with Lindsay and her ability to break down defenses. She's got some time here. She's gonna knock one in.
Didn't play in the final at the World Cup, but she did score against Thailand and Sweden as well.
And really, such a good problem to have if you're a coach. But Jill Ellis gifted with 4 tremendous central midfielders, but only could play 3 of them at a time. So Lindsay Horan, not the minutes many expected. It ended up to work out for the U.S., of course, but she is going to play a huge role with this team going forward. That's something you can be sure of.
She played a great ball for Alex Morgan's goal in the semi-final as well against England. You can pick a pass, there's no question. I think she was just one of those, just a little bit unlucky the way it broke for, and it was, of course, a lot to do with the form of Sam Mewis as well. Here she is on the ball now. And again, picks a perfect ball, this time for Kristen Press, who just took her eye off that in mid-air, I fancy, and just waves to a teammate by way of an apology. Tell us all about your podcast.
Oh my
Julie.
God.
Laughter permitted with Julie Foudy, with Trailblazers and fantastic guests. Who's coming up again?
We're gonna get some
Billie Jean.
Yeah, Billie Jean.
Oh.
Darky, you want to be on it?
Sure.
You'd be our first
Do
man.
I get a donut? Here's Carly Lloyd.
It's mandatory donuts.
Is it? Is that part of the show?
Oh yeah.
Every week.
Every time.
Too many calories.
Come on. I thought I liked you.
I'll make an exception. As long as the coffee's hot. USA surely on the way to a 16th consecutive win.
They will want a few more, knowing this group, though. This night is not done.
Yeah, I think Portugal would look at it and they'd say 2-0. That's not too bad, really, considering what we're up against. Whether they can keep it to 2, I think that's severely in doubt. As the USA are playing nearly all the game in Portugal's half of the pitch. Goals tonight, just to remind you, for Carly Lloyd, and she could have had 2 others as well, in all honesty. $16 more caps needed for 300. The leader is Christine Lilly, 354. Christy Rampone, 311. And you got 274. I looked it up.
Do I?
Yeah.
I thought I had 272, 274. 2 more found.
Is Julie Ertz, who will have a very hefty total by the time she's finished. She's closing in on 100. Now, Moran, these players are going to be around for a little while yet. That's very good news for the US as they look to continue their domination of the world game. That will become increasingly difficult as the other countries grow in strength. But it has to be said, during the summer, the US fought off all the closers. Corner here. Good punch, really. Wouldn't fall for Lindsey Horan, and yeah, I think that's a right decision because it was a high boot from Lindsey Horan, and it will be a free kick for Portugal. The official crowd is 19,600. That is a sellout here.
And a great crowd at 19.6.
Yeah,
I mean, they haven't stopped making noise. It's one of the things the players talk about, even with them being tired. We talked about mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, they had such tremendous fan support in France. Every game felt like a home game for them. And they were so grateful for that. And now they said, we've wanted to celebrate with our fans back home as well.
Yeah, they've played their part tonight, and I think it's their reward will be, I think, that the US women's team will be back here in this splendid stadium. And now everybody's got their phones on, putting on a light show for us. Yes, I don't think you'll hear the chant, "Is this a library?" from opposition fans here, ever. ESPN's coverage brought to you by Volkswagen, presenting sponsor of US Soccer. Let's all drive something bigger than ourselves. I've got to say, Lindsey Horan has so much ability. Of course, as I say that, she plays a misplaced pass. That's the curse of the commentator, but it's true.
Right when you say it.
Similarly, Rose Lavelle, who's unavailable under the concussion protocol tonight, who, it's probably a big call, but she looks to me like a female Andres Iniesta, the way she glides past opponents, and I think she had a lot of very good judges at the World Cup saying, who is that? Who'd never seen her before.
Yeah, exactly. Santiago Solari, colleague of ours from ESPN, played for Argentina, coached at Real Madrid. He turned to me in the final and said, who is this Rose Lavelle?
Yeah.
She is amazing. He said, I know.
Yeah, there's Rose. She's got it all in front of her. Still only 24 years of age. Jessica Silva here. Couldn't find a way past Julie Ertz. Tatiana Pinto. Better from Portugal. Good pressure on the ball. First time we've really seen that. And then Tatiana Pinto, much to her own annoyance, gave the ball away. But this is a valuable learning experience, I think, for these Portuguese players. They can take plenty away from these two games.
Huge, and especially with those European qualifiers in just a month.
The US will have to qualify through the CONCACAF region for the Olympic Games. I've got to say, it'll be in my bonnet. I think as world champions they should qualify automatically. You want the world champions at the Olympic Games, but hey, that's the way of it. And well, we are going to see a debut here for Kristen Hamilton, who's been doing so well for North Carolina Courage in the league. And this is a dream for her, an absolute dream. Never thought it would happen.
That's cute, because those are her North Carolina teammates, Sam Mewis, Crystal Dunn, giving her a little good luck pep talk there.
She will be the first young lady who came from the University of Denver to make it into the US.
Look at that. University of Denver in the books. Great career there. We were talking about how well she's done this year. And I mean, 8 goals for NWSL, tied for 3rd in the league. And not just 8 goals, Ian, 8 great goals. I mean, she has scored some beauties this summer for them, for the Carolina Courage.
Well, good luck to anybody making their debut. There'll be a lot of nerves. Bound to be. No goal tonight for Jessica McDonald. Twice she struck the bar. But certainly made her presence felt. But this is a huge moment, really, for Kristen Hamilton. She's not going to throw away her shot.
And you know what's interesting, not lost on me, the irony of her coming in for Jessica McDonald, a teammate of hers with the Courage. And it was Jessica being away this summer that really gave Kristen her chance to shine.
Now she's got another chance to shine here. Whatever else happens in her life, she can tell her family, I was a US international. Mallory Pugh laying the ball back for Julie Ertz, who's come out to the left-hand side for the moment, with Hamilton going further right. This time, Lindsay Heron is dispossessed in midfield. Dolores Silva doing the work. Portugal have been guilty when they have got the ball of giving it away too easily, and that will very much frustrate Francisco Neto, their coach. Very harsh environment, and I think it has been a wonderful experience for these Portuguese players to play in front of these big crowds in Philadelphia the other night. That was the biggest crowd ever, by the way, for a standalone friendly. Carly Lloyd's been booked for the challenge. First yellow of the night. Fatima Pinto was the victim on that occasion. Challenge best just on the robust side for the referee's liking. I think Carly Lloyd's going to be playing the full 90 minutes tonight. She now has to, really. Kristen Press. So much experience in this US squad. Kristen Hamilton winning her first caps, but over 2,000 among the rest of the squad.
2,000 caps?
Yep, among the 23.
I did not know that number. That's a large number.
Abby Dahlkemper, by the way, winning her 50th tonight. There will be several more for sure. The USA unable to add to the 2 goals scored by Carly Lloyd earlier on. Here's Hamilton's first real involvement in the game. crowded out. Neto to lay it back. Neto, the number 7 who's come on, was the captain of Portugal at the European Championships in 2017. That's nice by Portugal. Slick passing. That's 5-6 balls they put together. Neto's on the ball now. No way past Julia, so rarely is. Well, that's going to be a yellow card. Has to be for Dolores Silva. There's something almost out of martial arts.
You know, and moving Julie Ertz into that back line, which you mentioned earlier, Ian, she's in a, and there is that yellow. And here's what it's for. It's like that drill they do where they hold on to you and you have to drag them for strength and conditioning training. And the interesting thing I've noticed in this half, and mind you, I know it's not going to be 90 minutes of the pressure you saw defensively in that first half. But with Ertz not in the midfield, they lose a bit of that bite.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Ball bouncing around dangerously in there. Monica Mendes does good work in the end, and it will be a goal kick. If you missed the goals earlier, here's a reminder of how Carly Lloyd got both of them.
First, the misclear by Portugal. The great save by Pereira. McDonald keeps it alive, and Carly there, not going to miss the second time around. And this one, Tobin Heath on the outside. Bit questionable, might have been outside the box, but that's not questionable. That one's going in, and you know it. Leading the team in her 37th year, now with a team of life, with 11 goals. So impressive in her 30s. The statistic I always talk about to people is Carly Lloyd has doubled her scoring rate in her 30s.
Yeah.
Doubled.
Neto. Jessica Silva, one trick too many. Couldn't keep the ball. Play on, says the referee. Neto looks round, thought she might have been fouled. And a rare sortie forward. Press with the layoff. Things might be on here for the US. Hamilton. Wins a corner. The US corner. Lindsay Horan scores 3-0. Always had the momentum, was always going to win that ball, and planted it in the back of the net. #12th goal for our country.
I've never been a fan of this zone right here. You see what happens is there's gaps all the way in between. Lindsay Horan finds it, no one to body her up. You get a clear run at the ball. The entire Portuguese team in a zone in the 6. And that's what happens when you don't get in the way of a player. You need to get a body on them, get them off balance.
Yeah, she just got first run, and if you've got that and all that space, it was too easy really from Portugal's point of view. Neto playing it in, but nothing doing for Anna Light, who's just come on, plays her football in Germany for Borussia Bocholt. Mallory Pugh on the ball. Cross to near the goalkeeper, nothing at all that Ines Pereira, the keeper, could do about Lindsay Horan's header. Deserved that goal as well. She's been good since she came on.
Here's another look at it. Clear run, no one gets in her way. Times it perfectly.
Somebody has to block
but
the
you
run,
gotta,
don't they?
yeah, and you just gotta get them off course, get them off balance. And I get you know, you could play a couple zone in that 6, but then you gotta body up. You talk about it all the time defensively. Get in the way, give them a nudge.
Piece of cake, really. For Lindsay Horan, just said thank you very much for all that room. It's Casey Short. Hamilton looking to spin onto it. Five minutes remaining. 3-0. I wonder whether this is going to be a repeat of the 4-0 scoreline in Philadelphia on Thursday night. Considering how much defending and covering they've had to do, Portugal, 3-0 is almost a result for them if they keep it at this, because they've been on the back foot just about the whole match. Two more stops on the victory tour, which calls in at Charlotte, North Carolina, and Chicago on October the 3rd and 6th, when the opposition will be South Korea.
And then November is when, not to say that they're not taking these seriously, but there's a different focus to November. You have 2 friendlies in November, because of course then there's the Olympic qualifiers in January, February.
And it starts to just rev up again towards the Olympic Games in Tokyo.
And remember, only 2 teams from CONCACAF go to the Olympics.
Only 12 teams make
exactly,
it, don't they?
Only 12 teams versus 3.5 they have for the World Cup.
The USA
So
won
it's not
3 Olympics in a row, didn't they, until the last one?
Yeah, and the U.S. knows, like, that, you know, having lived through it, going into the 2011 World Cup, in which they almost didn't qualify, they had to win in a playoff, that you just never know in that format. Got to make it to that final to get to the Olympics.
By the way, a quick word about Ali Krieger, whose father's been badly injured in an accident. We're glad to hear that he is improving a little. Our thoughts go out to Ali and her family, and we wish him all the best for a speedy recovery. That's why she's not involved tonight. She's going to miss it, isn't she, I think? Jill Ellis. Such an emotional involvement with this team. She's been doing it for over 5 years now, and 2 World Cups. Can't argue with that, can you?
Gosh, and then time as an assistant before that with Pia starting in 2008.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to miss it, but I do think you also get some time back with your family as well. She's going to love that.
There was a little time, wasn't there, around 2017, when there were questions being asked whether there might be a change. Remember when, I think it was the Tournament of Nations, when Australia beat the US. But that little mini crisis was ridden out, and it was just as well it was, really.
And that actually was one of the things that impressed me the most with Jill over the course of her career, is the willingness to add. I mean, she really is responsible for She Believes and adding these good teams in the Tournament of Nations. She said the European Championships are happening. Europe is getting all these games. We need better games here in the United States. Yeah. And if we're losing in 2017, it's okay, because we're testing ourselves. And that was always her call. Like, we should be having these challenges and trying new formations. And she had the courage to go through those experiments, which I think a lot of coaches would not have done.
You're going to learn more, aren't you, playing top 10 opposition than walkovers against lesser teams. No surprises here tonight. A dominant USA doing really what they did last week, beating Portugal very handily, 3-0 this time. That is the final whistle, and Jill Ellis has equaled Tony DeCicco's record of 105 wins as coach of the US women's team. Carly Lloyd scoring her 116th and 117th goals for her country tonight. Lindsey Horan adding another in the closing minutes.
Great energy in this crowd. So fun to be a part of this here in Minnesota. And I know the players are incredibly grateful for the support in France and now back at home.
And they've really enjoyed it. There's been a party mood, and I think the fans, the sellout crowd here, got what they came to see, a USA win and goals as well. And Carly Lloyd especially enjoyed it. We'll be back with some more thoughts on this match and what might happen going forward when we rejoin you. Welcome back to the Allianz Field. Celebrations for the US team as the party mood on the victory tour continues with another, well, facile win really by 3-0. Here are the goals again.
And this is the one off the miss clear. Carly Lloyd, the first one to take a bite at it. Pereira with a good save. Jessica McDonald gets a nip at it. But it's Carly Lloyd in the end for her first one. And there's the penalty kick just outside. We thought, referee thought differently.
It was outside. Shouldn't have been given, but they don't care. Carly Lloyd puts it in.
And then, of course, Lindsey Horan with the final third. Zone marking by Portugal. You'll get punished when you do that, especially with a player as good in the air as Lindsey Horan is.
Jill Ellis equaling Tony DeCicco's record, 105 US wins, 21-1 in shots. It was pretty one-sided.
As I said before, without Pereira, I think it would have been more. And those are going to be the final 2 stops of this victory tour. And then they'll turn their attention to those 2 friendlies in November, Olympic qualifiers in January and February.
And they will be the last 2 games, those South Korea games, for Jill Ellis in her historic reign as the coach of this team. So final score here on the victory tour, USA 3, Portugal 0. As you look at those goals again. Thanks for joining us from me, Ian Dark and Julie Faldy. Now let's send it to the studio with Kevin Connors and Katie Douglas.